Welcome back to Sprague Homestead for another Mailbag Monday. I'm Kanan, and this week, let's talk about ethanol and gasoline. So recently, I put out a video on kind of how we store our gasoline and diesel, mostly using stabilizers through the winter in all of our vehicles and our extra fuel. Somebody had come in and asked, well, is there a way to take the ethanol, which is kind of bad in gasoline, can you take the ethanol out? So the simple answer is yes, and here is how you're going to do it. All right, so what we want to do is separate out ethanol from gasoline. And we want to use something called an ethonator. Now, essentially an ethonator is a closed container that you can have a fill in, and you're going to mix in 1 gallon of gasoline that you can get straight out of the E10 or E15 coming out of the pump. You're going to add in 1 cup of distilled water and add some food coloring in. Now, once you get these both in the ethonator, you can seal it up and you're going to shake it for about 30 seconds. Because what you want to do is really get this water to mix thoroughly into this gasoline, which does have ethanol into it. Now, at about 3 to 4 hours, what you will see is if you leave this sit, is that it's going to start separating. Ethanol and water are going to mix, and they are actually heavier than gasoline. So at 12 hours, approximately 12 hours, what you'll find is that you will have a container that is going to have ethanol-free gasoline up top, which will be approximately a gallon, a little less because you're going to lose a little bit of ethanol out of it. And at the bottom, you're going to have a colored substance, which is going to be water and ethanol. The coloring in it, the food coloring, is going to give you a clear line of distinction where they separate out. Now, the ethonator does have some way at the bottom to release out the ethanol mix here. So you would simply turn this will come down into the container, and you will allow this to drain down until you only have gasoline left at the bottom. Turn it off, then you can pour out the gasoline, which will be a little bit less than a gallon, and this now will be ethanol free, and then your other container is going to be your water and ethanol mix. Now, simply doing a 1 gallon batch in 12 hours probably is not going to be economical. It may be just easier to go buy ethanol-free gasoline, which is going to be a little bit more expensive at your local pumps, but if you can buy it locally, it may just be cheaper to do it this way. But if you like the kind of the chemistry involved in it, this will be pretty awesome to do. A couple of notes to keep in mind though is that once you remove out the water and ethanol mix, that may need to be recycled at a local hazardous waste or a hazardous material recycling center. You may or may not actually have one of those in your local area. Please check with your local regulations. Some places will allow you to pour it down a drain, allow it to go down into the storm drain, the sewer drain, etc. Or it may be hazardous waste. So before you do this, check with that. And I also mentioned in this, do distilled water. Now, I did talk to a petroleum engineer that understood this process, and the note on the distilled water is that distilled water has no minerals or extra pieces into it, right? Tap water a lot of time has chlorine into it. You may get a well that has sulfur water, or like ours, has a lot of iron in the water. What is going to happen is that when you do the ethanol and water mixture coming out the bottom, it may or may not leave that extra iron, the extra chlorine, the extra sulfur, etc. up in the gasoline and have an adverse reaction. So always use distilled water. And again, you're only using a cup of it, so you can get a gallon from the local store of distilled water and make multiple batches of this, of ethanol-free gas. So that's the process. It's pretty simple. It doesn't require a lot of things other than the initial setup and then the gas and the water. So with that, we'll see you next time. Happy homesteading, and if you do try this, I'd love to hear about it. I don't think I'm going to do it because it's just something that I'm probably not going to do at this point, because a gallon of gas for me kind of goes pretty fast around here. But if you do try it, let me know, leave me comments, or give me some idea that maybe if you're a YouTuber and you try it, I'd love to see how it works. That's it for this time. Happy homesteading. We'll see you next time.